YouTubers, welcome back to an extra special episode of Maxwell Starr's Beer Reviews. Tonight we're going to take a look at a beer from one of the famous breweries here in New Brunswick, an all-new product brewed in support of the Atlantic Salmon Conservation Foundation. Going to take a look at Picaroons Upstream Ale. Picaroons Upstream Ale has been explained as a golden or blonde or pale ale style beer. It's so new I don't think they really know even what style they brewed it in. Other than its 4.5% ABV. It says Upstream Ale, this catch and release brew is here for a limited time only to help the Atlantic Salmon Conservation Foundation promote its enhanced community partnerships in the conservation of wild Atlantic salmon and its habitat in the Atlantic Canada and Quebec. So, this particular beer is due to be launched, I'm going to upload this on the same day, so it's due to be launched today, August 27th, 2012. So, in a very special launch. And it's not very often that Picaroons comes out with a new bottle product. In fact, I think the last new bottle product that Picaroons did come out with was Melonhead. And I think that was in 2009. No. February 2010 when Imperial Pilsner Feels Good Imperial Pilsner came out. So it's been a long time coming. They did have another one, Dave's Adventure Ale, which was launched last year, but and was supposed to make it in the bottles, but as far as we're still waiting for it. And there's also another new one that just came out from Picaroons not too long ago, but it's only available occasionally on tap at the Brewtique up in Fredericton, which is the 506 Lager. To see this in bottles, it's actually kind of neat. And I'm glad that I got a chance to pick this one up down here. So, I'm going to take a look at this beer, and I'm excited because I love my Picaroons. So much that I'm going to put it in my Picaroons glass. Give it a pour here. Wow, that's clear. Holy cow, that's like the lightest looking Picaroons I've ever seen. That's light. That's got to be lighter than their blonde ale. And the head looks like it's dying off rather quickly. Quite a lot of carbonation. I started off with about a finger ahead at the top of the glass, and it's big bubbles, so it's dying off quickly. It looks like a lager would, actually. I know it's either a golden or a pale ale, so I mean it's not like it's far away from the deal. It looks a lot like Moosehead's pale ale. So let's give it a sniff. There's like a slight fruitiness. Touch of soda water. Maybe not so much soda water, but it's like bready, tiny bit red fruits, a little bit of malt sweetness. Not any trace of hops in there. It doesn't smell bad, it just doesn't smell like much. It doesn't smell like there's anything there. But then again, like when you compare it to other pale ales per se, it's a very light pale ale. But, you know what, the smells aren't bad. In fact, I like that a little bit of like a breadiness there. It's almost somewhat British. It's almost somewhat watered down, too. Well, down the hatch. Wow. It almost... Well, I'll explain. There is a bit of flavor to this, whereas it's got this bready, a little bit of sweet, like a pale malt kind of, or like a, not quite Pilsner malt, but like pale kind of tasting malt, whereas it's lightly sweet, a little bit of fruity, like apple fruit, and it's got this big, almost citrusy, tangy note to the entire body of the beer. A little bit of toffee in the back. Leaves off with a mild, earthy bitterness in the very back, almost coined in the mouth kind of tasting. It's very, very light in body. Holy cow. It's also quite smooth, clean, and crisp. That's not bad. It's got a decent amount of flavor, and it's not a bad flavor either. A very nice, light, refreshing body. Wow. Crisp and clean like the Miramichi River. I'm going to sit down with this one for a bit, and I'll be right back. And we're back with Picaroons Upstream Ale. So, what did I think about this particular beer? It's not bad. It would be very, very, very refreshing and tasty cold. But now that I've let this, I warmed up this beer before I started drinking it, and I let it even warm up a little bit more while I sat down and enjoyed it. And while I did enjoy it, it's got a lot of flavor to it. It almost tastes a little too generic. And I also find that the body, it's got, there's almost kind of like a weird kind of funk to it, and a slight amount of soapiness almost. Not sure exactly how I can describe it. It's got the diacetyl buttery note and some bready, biscuity kind of flavors in it, and a nice, mild amount of earthy hops, like earthy English, or copper coney herbal hops, in the very back, and a permeating amount of bitterness, like a permeating amount of diacetyl butter kind of taste that comes up the back. It's actually quite nice, and you know what? Characteristic of one of Picaroons' brews. But when it comes to one of Picaroons' brews, this is probably the most generic one that I've had to date. More generic so than the blonde ale that Picaroons makes. It's almost very similar to the blonde ale, except for it doesn't have the hops content like that. That one, if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I reviewed it. That one had a very like a piney hop note to it to balance out the malts, whereas this one, it's kind of weak on all sides and has the hops. Now it's a good pale ale. It's not a very standoutish pale ale. It's more geared, kind of leans towards like your typical macro pale ales. Like maybe not so much. It's not as crisp and refreshing as like Moosehead's pale ale is, but it's also got a lot more flavor than Moosehead's does. Because Moosehead's pretty close to water. But I like Moosehead, so don't get me wrong. I actually, their pale ale is one of the ones I drink a lot of. And I could see myself drinking more than one of these. It goes down quite easy. It's actually quite enjoyable. And anybody out there who's, if your favorite beer style is going to be lagers, if you want to, actually, it's the perfect beer to break into Picaroons with. If you're one of these macro or lager drinkers, you're not gonna hate this at all. It almost reminds me of like Sea Level's Moondance Lager, to be totally honest. I know this is an ale. It's kind of strange, but it's not bad. You know what? It's certainly worth a try. I can't give it a really high rating. I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. But hey, it's worth picking up, and it's nice to try something special because bottled specialties from breweries here in New Brunswick are few and far between. I think the only other real bottled specialty I've ever seen in this province from a brewery in this province is the Winter Warmer, or like Picaroons Dooryard or something. But those ones are now seasonals that they make every year, whereas this one, as far as I know, is going to be a one-off. But you know what? I can predict a lot of people are going to like this. But if you're a stickler for your craft brew, you're probably going to want something with a bit more style to it than this one, because this is probably the most generic Picaroons I've had to date. But that said, I still liked it, and I'm going to give it a 3.0 out of 5. So certainly pick it up. It's worth a try, but it's not worth running out. The cause is great, though. Got to admit, it's nice to see them actually producing a beer in response, like in honor of the Atlantic Salmon Conservation Foundation, which is an important issue here in New Brunswick. because they want to protect the populations of the streams. It's one of the biggest fishing industries in New Brunswick, especially for sport fishing. And you know, if you don't catch and release, they don't come back. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I will talk with you guys later.